So let's take a few moments together to explore this incredible theme of light in darkness, but also just to carry some of the beautiful rituals and things that people love to share during the Diwali time. But first of all, before we jump into that, I just want to share with you an inspiration that came to me while I was preparing for today's service. And it was early in the morning. And in fact, because I had other things that I needed to do, I got up super early, in fact, before the sun rose. And I was struck at that time while I was preparing for today that I could hear bird song, that even though it was dark, I could hear bird song. And I wondered about the mystery of bird song. Why do they sing even though it's dark? While the world still was in shadow, they began to sing. And what I realized was that they don't wait for the proof of morning. They trust in the coming of light. And their song is what I would like to think of as faith or trust or hope or all of these things expressed through sound. A declaration that life continues, that joy can rise even from the dark. And they sing, I would like to believe, because they have survived the night. And perhaps too, they sing to greet each other and to say, we are still here. And they sing not for reward, but because the song lives in them. It's in their DNA. It's who they are. And because I believe that what is alive in all of us must sometimes overflow. So my thoughts were that may we too learn to sing before the sunrise, to live with hope before we see the evidence of it, to lift our voices not in certainty, but in trust. Trust that light will come. And how wonderful to think that in our singing, these songs might help us to find our way towards that light. Now, as I said, one of the beautiful rituals in Diwali is that people go and they share quotes and little treasures and trinkets of wisdom, because as I said, the light for them is an example of inner knowledge. So I thought I would choose some quotes that speak to me, and I hope that they might speak to you also as I share them with you in the tradition of Diwali. So let me start with our treasure, our national treasure, Amanda Gorman, poet extraordinaire. And she says, there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, and if only we're brave enough to be it. There's a beautiful teacher and writer and podcaster, in fact. His name is Rob Bell, and he's what he would call, and many do, post-Christian. Something, I think, a conversation for another time, but he says this: why blame the dark for being dark? It is far more helpful to ask, why isn't the light as bright as it could be? Brené Brown, a name familiar to all of us, said this: only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our own inner light. Marianne Williamson, another name probably very familiar to you. As we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence actually liberates others. And then the final two. The first from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who said, "People are like stained glass windows. They sparkle and shine when the sun is out. But when darkness sets in, their true beauty is revealed only if there is light from within." And finally, from the great Buddhist teacher Sogyal Rinpoche, who said, "Light must come from inside. You cannot ask the darkness to leave. You must turn on the light." Now, in keeping with the tradition of sharing a story, I would love to share a very brief one, and one that reminds us that Diwali means a row of lights. In other words, everything is connected. It's a reminder in a way that we must, that if we light someone else's light, then they can light for another. And so on it goes. Here's a story that I love. It's a story of a man helping an older woman whose tire had burst on an open road, a lonely open road. She was stranded and very vulnerable. And after a long time of waiting with no cell coverage and feeling very afraid, an old truck appears in the distance. And when it stops in the road, a guy gets out and asks her, "Are you okay? Can I help you?" When he realizes that her tire has burst, he goes to the truck and takes out his jack and his tools from the back and replaces the burst tire. Embarrassed, but obviously feeling very relieved, the old lady reaches into her purse to give him some money. And the guy hesitates for a moment, knowing that the money would definitely help him in his current circumstances. But he politely declines, thinking, "Nope, not today. I'd rather just have the reward of helping someone in need rather than worrying about my own needs." They go their separate ways, and later, tired and thirsty, the old lady pulls into a small roadside diner. Her waitress is a young, heavily pregnant woman. And the old lady asks her, "Why aren't you at home, taking it easy and getting ready for your baby's birth?" And the waitress replies, "Well, I would love to, but my husband has lost his job, and so I'm working for as long as I can to try to help us make ends meet." Later, as the old lady leaves, she slips in an extra tip of the money that she would have given the guy on the roadside, but she still has in her pocketbook, thinking, "You know, that young man helped me, and he helped me out of a difficult situation, so I want to pay it forward." That evening, after her shift, the young woman arrives home excitedly. Babe, you'll never guess, but tonight I received a tip big enough to help us pay our rent this month and maybe even buy some extra food." "Wow," says the husband. "That's amazing. What a relief." And the waitress says, "And how was your day, my love?" Well, he answered, I didn't find a job, but I was able to help an old lady who'd broken down on the old country road outside of town. A reminder that everything is interconnected. And finally, let me close by sharing an encouragement with you. And that's another part of the Diwali tradition, that you use the light as a symbol of sustenance and help and encouragement to one another. I would like us to take courage and example from those who've gone before us through equally dark, distressing, and sometimes depressing times. None other than, of course, John Lewis, and an excerpt from his amazing book, Across That Bridge. These are his words that I would love to close with. You are a light. In fact, you are the light. Never let anyone, any person, or any force dampen, dim, or diminish your light. Study the path of others to make your way easier and more abundant. Lean towards the whispers of your own heart. Discover the universal truth and follow its dictates. Release the need to hate, to harbor division, and the enticement of revenge. Release all bitterness. Hold only love, only peace in your heart, knowing that the battle of good to overcome evil is already won. Choose confrontation wisely, but when it is your time, don't be afraid to stand up, and speak out against injustice. And if you follow your truth down the road to peace and the affirmation of love, if you shine like a beacon for all to see, then the poetry of all the great dreamers and philosophers is yours to manifest in a nation, a world, a community, a beloved community that is finally at peace with itself. And perhaps the song that we could sing always to join the chorus before the dawn is, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. May it be so, and so it is. Thank you, everybody.
If you like this video, please like us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click on the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. Thank you.